How's it going, folks? Welcome to what is sure to be a very odd, at the very least, at-home table read. Tonight, we're jumping into an early James Gunn film from 2009, Super. His first kind of look at superheroes, well before he got a franchise and a whole comic book universe to create. But I'm really excited to see how this one goes. So let's jump right into introducing ourselves.
Hello, I'm George, and I'll be doing the action description.
I'm Logan. I'm going to be Frank.
I'm going to be Libby.
Hi, I'm Chelsea, and I'm Libby.
Hi, Anne, and I'll be Sarah.
I'm Erik. I'll be Jacques.
I'm Travis. I'm playing Hamilton.
All right. Well, George, take us away.
All right, Super by James Gunn. Black.
I've had two perfect moments in my life. The first was when I married Sarah.
Exterior Frank's parents' backyard day. Super, #1 in bright lettering. Frank Darbo and Sarah Helgeland's low-budget wedding day fills the screen. They kiss beneath a provisional gazebo. A minister and family members surround them, applauding. Large dogs fill breeding cages behind the gazebo, bark. We see only glimpses of who the married couple are here. Frank is a large man, socially and physically awkward. Sarah is pretty but weathered, haunting. The moment doesn't last long before. Black.
The other, I was downtown.
Exterior fruit stand day. Frank is buying plums at a fruit stand. He notices a panicked purse snatcher rounding the corner. The snatcher darts into a bodega beside Frank. Two cops barrel the corner after him, looking around lost. Super, #2. Frank points inside the store, yells to the cops.
Officers, he went in there!
The cops run past Frank and into the store.
Thanks, pal.
Black.
Two perfect moments which offset a life of pain.
Interior Frank's childhood bedroom day. Young Frank is sobbing on his bed as his father, Frank Sr., a dispassionate man with thick, eye-distorting glasses, beats him with a belt. On the floor are scattered pictures of pinup girls from the 80s.
Would God hide pictures of Heather Locklear in his closet, Frank?
Black.
A life of humiliation.
Interior brick wall day. Young Frank tries to cover himself as laughing boys stand on the edge of a wall over him, urinating on him. Black.
Rejection.
Interior gymnasium day. A happy teenage Frank poses with his homely prom date for their prom photo. A middle-aged photographer flashes their photo. Interior gymnasium later. Teenage Frank is picking up his date's wool-lined jean jacket from the coat check.
I'll meet you outside.
Exterior gymnasium parking lot moments later. Teenage Frank looks for his lost date. He turns to see the photographer having sex with his prom date on the hood of an Impala. Frank's prom date grunts with pleasure. She spots Frank, shoos him away with a flick of her wrist. Cut to interior Frank's bedroom, current day night. Frank wakes up with a start as if he's had a vision. Sarah is asleep beside him, hoarding the covers. Interior Frank's family room moments later. Frank grabs a pad of paper, some pens, and colored pencils from his closet. Interior Frank's kitchen moments later. Frank is crouched over the kitchen table. He draws cartoons, intensely focused. Interior Frank's bedroom morning. Frank tapes 2 drawings to the wall beside his chest of drawers. He steps back and stares at them, his 2 perfect moments. In one, he kisses Sarah on their wedding day. In the other, he points into the store while the cop says, "Thanks, pal," in a word balloon. Sarah appears behind him wearing her robe, holding a cup of coffee.
What are those?
I'll wake up and see these first thing every morning. Perfect moments. They can inform my day, set me in the right direction.
Why are everybody's hands so big?
Frank stares, concerned. Interior Frank's kitchen day. Frank covers the largely rendered hands with liquid paper. Interior Frank's bedroom later. Frank once more stares at the drawings, again taped to the wall. All the characters' hands have been whited out and redrawn. Their hands are all now especially tiny, but Frank seems satisfied. Interior Frank's bedroom night. Sarah is lying in bed reading In Touch magazine. Frank is snuggled up to her, holding her. Sarah wriggles her shoulder, pushing him away.
Frank.
Frank flops onto his back. He stares at the ceiling.
I knew I was losing her.
Interior Frank's family room day. Frank enters the front door after a hard day of work. Sarah is on the rug doing bong hits and giggling with a goofy burnout named Toby and some girl. Frank is surprised.
Frank, close the fucking door. The cop drove by.
She throws a sock at him. Doof. Toby laughs. Frank looks at Toby, then spots a fireplace poker on a rack near the fireplace.
Should have done something about it then.
Fantasy, family room. Frank grabs the fireplace poker and shoves it in Toby's neck. Blood spurts out across the room.
Saved Sarah from what was about to come,
Back to scene.
but I was weak.
Frank avoids Toby's gaze and leaves the room. Interior Frank's kitchen, morning. Maybe it's Sunday morning. Frank is cooking breakfast on the stove. A screen door leads to the dew-drenched day. A handsome man appears behind the screen, Jacques. He's unshaven, and his hip, expensive clothes are disheveled as if he's been up all night. He peers inside.
Hey, is this where Sarah lives?
Frank stares at him a moment.
She's not here.
Oh, okay. What are you cooking there, pal? Eggs?
Frank nods.
Eggs sound really good right now.
Frank looks at him.
Think maybe I could have a couple of those babies?
Frank looks at him. Moments later, Jacques is sitting at the table across from Frank, shoveling eggs into his pie hole. Frank examines him.
Man, are those some special kind of eggs? What are those, brown eggs? I don't know what those are.
No.
Well, damn, they're fantastic. My God, you, my friend, you have a gift. God graced you with a goddamn egg cooking gift.
Jacques looks at his watch.
Holy shit, horse at the gate. Gotta go.
Jacques wipes his mouth and stands, fishes in his pocket.
Can I give you a couple bucks for the,
That's okay.
Jacques smiles. He's a charming rascal, and he knows it.
Thanks, buddy. Do me a favor and tell Sarah, Jacques, stop by, okay?
Frank nods. Jacques winks goodbye, slaps the screen door on the way out, and is gone. Interior Frank's bedroom, night. Frank and Sarah lie in bed. Frank's reading an inspirational book, Sarah, an Us magazine. Frank looks at Sarah, thinks, considers saying nothing, but then...
Somebody named Jacques stopped by today.
Oh, Jacques, yeah, from the club.
Frank stares at her. Sarah goes back to reading her magazine. She can't quite suppress a smile, a touch of excitement. Black.
She was gone 5 days later.
Interior Frank's bedroom, night. Frank opens Sarah's empty closet. Moments later, he finds a single hairpin in one of her empty drawers. Later, Frank is on his knees on the floor, sobbing. The two perfect moments are on the wall beside him. He looks up at his own distorted face in a full-length mirror.
People look stupid when they cry.
Run the credits! A driving pop song plays over animated credits. They're a version of Frank's colored pencil cartoons on lined paper featuring Frank in a superhero costume. He shoots beams out of his eyes. He picks up getaway cars, crunching them in his hands. He tears off criminals' heads. He stretches and flies and blows powerful winds that tear the flesh off villains, leaving them skeletons. Ha! It's all very triumphant. The credits culminate with the cartoon versions of Frank and the other characters all dancing. Then, interior bare assets, night. Frank, distressed, approaches a pretty hostess in the doorway of this strip club. She once overs Frank.
May I help you, sir?
I'm looking for Sarah Darbo.
Frank peeks beyond dividers where men hypnotized with lust stare at passionless strippers.
Sarah doesn't work here anymore.
Can I go in and look for her?
I just said she doesn't work here anymore, sir. If you'd like to leave a mess... God damn it, Manuel, not there. Buy the napkins.
Frank sees Jacques laughing, coming through the crowd. He's with three thugs, Abe, Mike, and Quill. They pass Frank as they exit the place. Exterior bare assets, moments later. Frank approaches Jacques and his posse from behind.
Jacques,
Uh-huh.
do you know where my wife is?
Jacques starts to get into his Aston Martin.
Depends on who your wife is.
Sarah.
Oh, yeah, right. The guy who cooks eggs, the brown kind.
They weren't brown. You just
That's right. They weren't brown.
have you seen my wife?
Jacques takes a deep breath.
Shit, man. Yes, I have. Yes, I have. And I know this is hard, but I don't think, man, I don't think she wants to see you anymore.
Frank is silent, about to cry.
Oh, dude, look. Sometimes people just change, right? I mean, I'm sure she still loves you. She always loved you, right?
Frank is not consoled.
And I know she feels bad about it. And the other day she was saying something I couldn't believe. It was so touching. She looked at me and said, I can't remember exactly how it went, but everyone in the room, even these cunts here, were like, oh my God, that's, it moved them. And it was about you. So anyway, sorry, buddy.
Jacques nods to his men. They get into their cars. Frank stands impotently in the lot as they drive away. Fade 2, exterior bare assets night. Frank is in his car down the street from the club, looking obsessed. Empty soda cans and candy wrappers are on the seat beside him. He's been there for hours. He sees Jacques with his men come out of the club. A poor woman is selling roses. Jacques buys one. Jacques gets into his Aston Martin and takes off. Frank tails the Aston in his beat-up boat of a car. Exterior highway later. Frank tails Jacques down the highway. Jacques switches lanes and gets onto the off-ramp. Frank follows Jacques' car up the off-ramp. Exterior Bedlington Road later. 2 cars head onto a dark, rural road full of greenery. Frank looks up at the street name, Bedlington. Exterior Jacques' gate later. Jacques pulls up to a sprawling ranch surrounded by high metal gates. The gates swing open. Frank parks. He watches through the bars as the Aston pulls up the driveway into the front door. Jacques gets out of his car and walks to the front doors. The door opens before he gets there. Inside, it's Sarah. Her eyes are bloodshot and puffy. She's obviously stoned. She smiles, greeting Jacques. Jacques hands her the rose. She smells it. They giggle and kiss. Jacques closes the door behind them. Interior Dimitri's diner kitchen night. Frank stands lifelessly by the grill watching blackened burgers smoke. Hamilton, his fellow cook, a 30-ish black man, sees this.
Yo, Frank, you're burning them. That's how people get cancer from eating burnt burgers, man. Frank, you gotta forget that bitch. She sucked more cock than my brother Victor. And you saw that dipshit come in that once with a cum worm on his beard. Didn't even know it was there.
Don't talk about her like that. You're lazy. I'm the one around who ever cooks.
So, I know. That dog's what's banging her. That Jacques Quintel say he's bad fucking bad news. You want to fuck with a guy like that? You?
Hamilton laughs at Frank. Interior police station. Day, I guess that was a laugh. Close up. A photograph of Jacques leaving the strip club. A red marker has been used to circle Jacques' face and scrawled Jacques above it in big letters. Mr. Felkner?
What's this?
Frank is sitting at a table in an interrogation room with a 50-ish gruff detective John Felkner.
Jacques, the one I told you, who stole my wife.
Kidnapper?
Yes, and he gave her drugs.
Detective Felkner stares at him.
Can you arrest him?
What kind of proof do you have that this man kidnapped your wife?
I asked him where she was, and he was evasive.
Uh-huh.
He wouldn't answer my questions.
That doesn't sound like proof, Mr. Darbo. How long has she been missing?
3 days.
How'd you discover she was gone?
Her closet was empty.
So, Jacques kidnapped her and took all her clothes out of her closet?
The drugs. My wife was a recovering alcoholic and drug addict. She had turned her life around, and this jerk gave her drugs.
Oh, and then she kidnapped herself and took her own clothes out of the closet.
Frank doesn't answer.
Jacques is like one of these Vegas hypnotists.
Frank looks at the floor.
So, Mr. Darbo, what you're saying is your wife left you for this Jacques guy, and now you want us to arrest him.
Yes.
We can't do that, Mr. Darbo.
Moments later, Felkner walks Frank to the door. puts his hand on his back.
Listen, pal, sometimes you just gotta accept these things. Sometimes the best thing you can do to forget about someone you care about is to fill that hole with someone you don't quite so much.
Exterior pet store day. Frank stands outside the pet store staring at an ad of a happy man having his face licked by a dog. A caption reads, "This female will never leave you high and dry." Interior pet store moments later. Frank approaches an enthusiastic teenager wearing a blue pet store apron.
Do you have any rabbits?
Rabbits? Sure.
I hear they make good companion animals.
Absolutely. A lot of people don't know rabbits can be trained to use a litter box.
Moments later, the kid shows Frank stacks of cages with the various types of rabbits in them.
Angora, lop-eared, Dutch, dwarf, martin, Vienna white, one missing a leg. That one's free. Himalayan, New Zealand. Now, a lot of people don't know rabbits can be trained to be a little box, which makes them better than cats because their faces aren't as flat and freakish looking. Cats sometimes look a little too much like a human, which makes you want to punch them in the face.
Frank hones in on an adorable lop-eared bunny.
Oh, she's a real cutie.
The kid opens the cage, pulls out the rabbit, and hands her to Frank. Frank reacts as if the kid just set a BM in his hands.
What do you think? Is this a pet for you?
Frank looks down at the rabbit, soft and breathing in his huge hands, its little heart thumping.
I better not. Because if I screw it up.
Frank hands the rabbit back to the kid and leaves. Interior Frank's family room, night. Frank watches TV, the only light in the room. TV, interior school cafeteria kitchen, day. A superhero, the Holy Avenger, bursts through the door. He has huge fake foam muscles and wears a mask and cape. A white cross insignia covers his chest and torso. Two young, attractive teenagers, Jim and Holly, are by his side. They confront the monstrous villain, Demonswill. He's using a large Cronenbergian machine to bathe cafeteria trays with devilish light. Demonswill, are you the one behind the laziness of these boys and girls here at Valley High? The Holy Avenger gestures towards the cafeteria. There, students are sleeping on the tables, lazily playing jacks, etc.
That's right, Holy Avenger. I've been bathing their apple crisp and tater tots in the beam of sloth.
I don't like apple crisp or tater tots, Holy Avenger.
And I pack a lunch.
That's why the two of us haven't been affected and are the only ones who have continued to do our schoolwork and chores.
And even more importantly, you're the only ones who haven't forgotten that it's important to fight evil in all its forms instead of just giving in to Satan, because it's easier that way. Back to family room. Frank gazes intently at the screen. The Holy Avenger's words cut deep. Back to TV. Get away from that food, Demonswill. Demonswill laughs. He pulls out a strange gun and points it at them.
You'll never stop me.
That's right. I won't. But the power of Jesus Christ, our Savior, will. The Holy Avenger holds his hands up towards the heavens. Sweet Jesus, bathe my hand with the power of God. The Holy Avenger's hand glows a bright white. Demonswill cowers. The Holy Avenger shoots rays from his glowing hand at Demonswill. Demonswill screams in agony, writhing. As he does, Jim and Holly smile and high five. Back to scene. Frank stares at the screen, transfixed. Exterior Jacques' car, night. Jacques, Sarah, and the rest of their merry gang, Abe, Quill, Mike, and Toby, emerge from the house laughing and drinking. Sarah is drunk and high on ecstasy. She brushes her hair back and forth over her arm, giggling at its sensation, and then brushes it on Toby, who giggles too. Sarah starts to wander over the lawn, but Jacques grabs her, pulling her back, kissing her. They get into his Aston. Abe and the others get into a tricked-out SUV. The large gates open electronically. The two vehicles pull out towards Bedlington Road. Suddenly, Frank's car zooms up in front of the Aston, blocking it. He jumps out of the car. He runs towards Sarah in the passenger side door.
Sarah!
Frank throws open her door. Sarah looks up at him with glassy eyes, smiling.
Frank? Everybody, this is Frank.
He pulls Sarah out.
Sarah, come with me.
What? Where are we going?
They've turned your mind against you. Get into the car.
No, I have to. Frank, let go.
Look at your eyes, Sarah. Your pupils. Look what's happened. Please get into the car.
No, Frank. Ow.
Jacques steps out, looking over the car roof at Frank.
Oh man, dude, that isn't right. Come on.
Let go. You're hurting me.
Frank lets her go. Sarah gets back into the car and shuts the door on him, locks it. Jacques gets back into the car too. Frank looks up and sees Abe and the other thug stepping out of the SUV. Frank sees Jacques saying something to Sarah inside the car. Frank starts slapping the passenger side window.
Sarah! Sarah, don't listen to him! Sarah!
Jacques gets out again.
Why are you hitting that car? Come on. That's fucked up. Seriously.
Give her back!
Yeah, Jacques. It's okay. It's Frank.
Sarah, shut up.
You shut up!
Frank slaps his car again.
Listen, man, I've been nice to you, haven't I? Haven't I been nice? I have complimented your cooking. You don't know who I am. So now I'm warning you. Just this one time, out of the fucking kindness of my fucking heart, don't fucking touch my car again.
Frank pokes Jacques' car with his finger.
That's the last time.
Frank pokes Jacques' car a little harder.
All right, I'm going. That's not the kind of touching that I meant.
Jacques gets back in his car. He tries to back up and maneuver around Frank's car. Frank watches a moment. Then he jumps onto Jacques' hood and slaps it as hard as he can. Sarah yelps.
Yeah.
What are you, bro? Some kind of sort of stalker?
Abe, Quill, Mike, and Toby push Frank to the ground. He starts to get up, but they push him down again. Jacques gets around Frank's car.
No, Jacques, stop them. They're hitting someone. Oh, God, sorry.
Jacques drives off while the thugs beat the shit out of Frank. Interior Dimitri's diner morning. A breakfast crowd of businessmen and students fill the diner. Outside the window, behind these happy eaters, Frank stumbles from his car. One eye is swollen shut, his lips are bashed and bleeding. His hair is caked in blood and gravel. His clothes are torn. Frank tucks in his shirt and limps towards the front door. One young woman sees him through the window and yelps. Frank drags himself inside. The patrons start to notice him. In the kitchen, Hamilton is furiously trying to keep pace with the orders stuck on the order wheel. He glances up to see Frank hobbling towards him like death. Interior Dimitri's diner kitchen, morning. Hamilton gawks as Frank enters and clocks in. He walks towards the closet.
Frank, what the fuck?
I'm late. Sorry.
Frank opens the closet, puts on an apron and his little cook's hat.
You getting blood on? Or what happened?
Tried to get Sarah and...
Oh, shit, dude. You fucked up.
I was unconscious. I didn't know what time.
Frank takes an order off the wheel. He's dizzy and it's hard to read.
Frank, ain't I tell you that motherfucker's bad news?
Frank starts to cook his order.
What are you doing?
27.
You're getting AIDS all over people's food.
The customers are staring at all this through the order/pickup window. Hamilton sees an older woman with a big hairdo staring.
You bigwig, turn the fuck around. Can't you see the man's having a nervous breakdown?
Hamilton pulls Frank aside and takes off Frank's apron and hat.
Now, come on, Frank. Go home. Dimitri comes in and sees you like this. He'll fire your guinea ass.
Hamilton pushes Frank towards the diner door, then changes his mind and guides him towards the back.
Here, take the back way.
Frank is about to go out the back door when he breaks down crying. This makes Hamilton uncomfortable.
Oh, shit. Oh, no. Shit. Frank, you just need to pull yourself together and shit.
Frank just looks at the floor, shaking with sobs.
When you get down, you just need to pick yourself up and remind yourself. It's your own fault for being so idiotic as to fall in love with a piece of trash like that. All right, now go home, please.
He pushes Frank out the rear door. Interior Frank's bedroom, night. Frank sits on the edge of the bed, his mashed up face clean now, staring at his perfect moments. They aren't helping. Moments later, Frank prays on his knees beside his bed.
God, please guide me. Let me know what to do next. God, please let me have Sarah back. Show me how. I hate you, God! I'm sorry I said that. I don't mean that. Just sometimes this doesn't seem fair. God, look, other people have good things. Other people have goodness. They have love and tenderness. They have people who care about their lives. Other people aren't humiliated at every turn. Other people have things. God, even starving children in Africa. Even their parents love them. Why, God? Why was I unlucky enough to have my soul born into this disgusting me with this ugly face, this hair doesn't comb, with this dumb, idiotic personality? People stare at me, God, and I can tell they're amazed that something so stupid and awkward could even exist. Why am I here? Why? Please, God, please. Look, I know it's selfish, but just asking for one thing, just this one time, and then I swear I'll never ask for anything again. Just want Sarah back. Please, let Sarah be my Sarah again. Amen.
Frank gets into bed, turns off the light. Later, Frank tosses and turns in bed, unable to sleep, his mind on fire with the events of the past few days. He hears something at the window. He jerks himself upward in bed. The curtains are slightly parted, and between them, out in the street, he sees the Holy Avenger staring in at him. Frank jumps to the window. The Holy Avenger jogs into some nearby bushes. Frank hears rumbling above him. He looks up to see his bedroom wall and ceiling cracking open in front of him. A blinding light seeps through. Frank plops back onto his bed in awe and fear.
I've been plagued by visions throughout my life.
Flashback. Interior Frank's childhood bedroom, night. Young Frank looks up in shock as Jesus is crawling around Frank's wall like a spider. He seems to be having fun.
At the age of 8, I saw Jesus climbing on my trophy shelf.
Jesus catches Frank looking.
Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. Why does everybody take everything so seriously all the time?
Flashback. Interior Johnny Stockwell's bedroom, day. Johnny Stockwell and his brother have tied their little sister to a chair. She's crying.
12, I discovered my friend Johnny Stockwell wasn't all he appeared to be.
Johnny turns towards young Frank. His face mutates into that of a grinning devil. Flashback. Interior Dimitri's diner kitchen, day. Hamilton shakes hands with new employee Sarah.
When I first met Sarah, I heard the words of God.
Sarah smiles at Frank. Marry her. Frank looks around, wondering where the voice came from.
I've never known if these visions were divinely implanted or something else.
Back to scene. Frank's bedroom wall and ceiling crack open further, and more blinding light bursts forth. There are no angels singing, only the rumbling and the screams of the damned.
I had never experienced anything like this.
Frank looks down to see his comforter has wrapped around his arms and legs like shackles. He tries to pull away, but is trapped. Numerous tendrils, a mix of organics and electronics, are growing out of the walls. The tendrils grab Frank's head, centering it, keeping it still. 2 additional tendrils, ending in knives, move towards him. The knives slice down the sides of his skull. Frank yelps out of fear, out of not pain. When the knives are finished, grabber attachments just jut out to Frank's scalp. They pull back the top of Frank's skull like a flip-top box that his brain is exposed. A tube-like tendril squirts a sick orange liquid on Frank's exposed brain. Another tendril swipes a squeegee-type sponge back and forth over his brain, preparing it. And then the colossal finger of God, composed of purple, red, and blue light, comes down from the heavens. It heads through the crack in the ceiling and towards Frank's exposed brain. Frank struggles harder to get away, but he still can't move. He screams. Tears roll down his face. And then just barely, the finger of God grazes Frank's brain. Frank freezes. Everything becomes silent. Pushing on his brain, a lighting and a pulsing glow, seemingly for the moment the only part of Frank alive. Frank's vision, interior white room. Frank sits on a rusty folding chair in a hazy room of white nothing. He looks around. The Holy Avenger is standing there. The finger of God.
What?
Touching your brain. The smallest tip of the finger of God. Even that's too much for a human being's peanut mind to comprehend. Frank is speechless. There is a plan for you, Frank. Some of his children are chosen. Okay?
Okay.
The Holy Avenger focuses on something behind Frank and snickers. Frank turns. On the wall, there was a large insignia of a crimson hooded mask, like Batman's, only without the ears. It is backed by a bright yellow bomb blast over a sky blue wall. Back to scene, bedroom. Frank opens his eyes. Everything is back to normal. The air conditioner, clock, birds, and other dim sounds of the night surround him. Frank breathes heavily, freaked out. Interior Frank's kitchen, morning. Frank eats cereal. On a lined notebook beside him, he doodles the hooded mask he saw in his vision the night before. He stares at it, turns it in different ways, trying to decipher its secret. Interior Frank's bedroom, day. Frank tapes notebook pages to the top of his wall. Frank stares at the pages. Each one has a different handwritten word on it. Some of his children are chosen. Frank considers the words. He looks below them at a little sketch he's done of the Holy Avenger. He thinks. Exterior Alpha Comics establishing, day. A comic book store in the city. Interior Alpha Comics, day. Frank looks over the shelves. A pretty girl in her late teens, early 20s, Libby, is behind the counter playing an old electronic handheld football game. She notices Frank.
Can I help you with anything in particular?
Holy Avenger.
What? The Avengers?
Holy Avenger.
Oh, Holy Avenger. Do you always mumble like that?
A few other customers turn to look at Frank. He's embarrassed.
Back issues under H.
As Frank moves to the back issues, Libby stares at him, trying to figure something out. Frank finds the Holy Avenger section and flips through them, grabbing some. He notices Libby staring at him from the corner of his eye, but tries to ignore it. He carries the comics to the counter.
The cook.
Frank stares at her.
At Dimitri's, right?
Oh, yeah.
I ate lunch there sometimes. The tuna avocado salad, remember me?
No.
Sometimes I pretend that window where you work, you know that one?
Uh-huh.
That it's like a widescreen TV with great reception, and the only movie they ever show is a guy flipping burgers. You.
Libby flips through one of the comics he grabbed.
So you like this Christy stuff, huh?
I've never read it.
Well, I have to warn you, Holy Avenger is really fucking stupid. Unless you're laughing at how gay it is, then it's awesome.
Libby shows him the book.
Look, see the art? Like, everyone's drawn like a mongoloid.
Frank stares at it.
Like in the eyes, like how mongoloids are like that.
Frank nods. Libby reads one of the panels where the Holy Avenger is saying,
I'm no different from you or anyone else, Holly. All it takes to be a superhero is the choice to fight evil. Well, that's true. You have to admit he has a point.
Libby's words echo out, growing louder.
I mean, I wonder that all the time. Why hasn't anybody ever been a real one? You know, a superhero? You would have thought one guy in all the world would have stood up and done it.
Frank stares at her in awe as her words sink in. Interior Frank's house later. Frank bursts through the door. Interior Frank's kitchen. Frank snatches up the doodle of the hooded mask from his vision. He looks around and sees a framed 8x10 wedding photograph of himself and Sarah. Moments later, Frank yanks the photograph out of the frame. He tears the photo in half so that only he is in the photo. Moments later, Frank cuts the doodle of the hooded mask out with his scissors. Moments later, Frank has scotch taped the photo of himself to the wall. He then tapes the mask over his face in the photo. Frank gapes at the combined picture with himself wearing a mask. Frank fumbles Libby's words.
Why hasn't anybody ever been a real one? It was all so clear.
Interior library, day. Frank pulls books on sewing from the shelves. Interior Frank's kitchen, day. The sewing books are spread over the table. Frank cuts a sewing pattern from brown parchment paper. Various sketches of a costume are on the table.
Maybe I couldn't shoot beams out of my eyes or fly.
Interior fabric store, day. Frank unrolls a few yards of dark red cloth. He looks at a man with scissors and nods. That's how much he wants.
The finger of God had touched me.
Exterior Frank's house, kitchen window, night. Through the window, we see Frank sitting at the table using a sewing machine on his costume.
Who's to say what kind of powers that gives a person?
Interior Frank's kitchen, day. Frank irons something to the front of his red costume. He removes the iron, revealing the cowl and mask insignia surrounded by a yellow burst on the chest of the costume.
Jacques had stolen Sarah, propelling me into the depths of hell itself.
Interior Frank's family room, night. Frank wriggles into the red pants of his costume. They're a bit tight. A violent scene is on the TV behind him.
But in those depths, I became myself for the first time ever.
Interior Frank's bedroom, night. Frank steps in front of a mirror. His entire Crimson Bolt costume is revealed.
I found my skin.
It's a mostly red mask and cowl and bodysuit. The costume is ill-fitting, patchy, and poorly sewn. But Frank seems to like it. He tries out various voices and heroic poses for his new persona. They're all basically the same.
I'm the Crimson Bolt. The Crimson Bolt, that's who. Everyone give up. It's the Crimson Bolt. Me. What gives? Crimson Bolt is here.
Close up, Frank.
Shut up, crime. Here's the Crimson Bolt.
Wipe 2, exterior alleyway, night. The Crimson Bolt is crouched behind a large trash bin, peeking out at a barren street. The Bolt whispers into a mini tape recorder he has painted red to match his costume.
Crimson Bolt's Journal, Night 1. Waiting to protect innocents from the dark forces of evil.
The Crimson Bolt waits, looking around for evil. We hold on him for a long time. No evil seems to be appearing. Exterior alleyway, night. Once again, the Crimson Bolt is hiding behind the trash bin. He whispers into the tape recorder.
Crimson Bolt's Journal, Night 2. No crime last night, but I did see a couple of suspicious people who might have been planning something for tonight.
The Crimson Bolt hears a flapping sound.
Hold on!
The Crimson Bolt drops the tape recorder and runs around the trash can, ready for action. He looks both ways down the street and runs one way, disappearing behind the trash can. A moment passes. He ambles back to his hiding spot. He crouches, picks up the tape recorder again, speaks into it.
It was a box. Wood was pushing it down the street.
The Crimson Bolt turns off his tape recorder, waits a moment, then thinks of something and turns it back on.
I'm not going to leave it there. I'll clean it up later. Just don't want to expose my position at this time.
The Crimson Bolt turns off his tape recorder and waits. Interior library, day. Frank approaches a librarian. He has chosen to wear a disguise, a black beard, to cover his identity. He is a terrible liar.
I'm in college, and I'm doing a report on where to buy drugs here in Detroit, what streets where the drug dealers are.
You're writing a report on that?
Yes.
Why are you wearing a fake beard?
It's real.
Pause.
Well, I guess we can start by checking the internet for old news stories.
A lot of people think it's fake, but it's not. It's real.
Later, Frank peers over the librarian's shoulder as she calls up old newspaper stories on the Detroit News website. We flash through different stories about drug busts and prostitution. Euclid Avenue is mentioned in many of them. Exterior Euclid Avenue, night. Tilt down from the Euclid Avenue street sign to the Crimson Bolt hiding behind parked cars. This time, the street beyond him is filled with dealers, pushers, and whores. Nathaniel, a drug dealer, thin and scurvy-esque with gold teeth, argues with a whore across the street.
Get your ass down to 50, bitch.
I'll tell Elroy, Nathaniel.
Tell Elroy and me in agreement you stand down on 50.
Elroy ain't said no such.
Nathaniel throws a can at her. The whore gives in, wobbling sadly away in her high-heeled shoes. Nathaniel mumbles to himself.
Ain't listened to no motherfucker named after no Jetson no how.
The Crimson Bolt, peeking around a fender, hides as two teenagers drive up beside Nathaniel. Nathaniel struts up to their car, leans on the open window, flashing his gold smile.
Yo, players! What I do for you, Smoke?
You have any weed?
Fuck, dog, only motherfucking tie stick.
The dealer flashes what looks like tie stick. For the uninitiated, seedless marijuana buds skewered on pot stems and tied on with strings.
I didn't know what part of Detroit this is. Yeah, what two good-looking brothers like you shells need for a party?
The teens smile and snicker, flattered.
How much?
For you, 80.
$80.
Yeah, fuck you for two, for 160.
Now he's adding fucks. God. Jeez. Anyway, Nathaniel swipes the stick under his nose.
Pussy come from miles around. They smell this stinking weed, yo. I bet you two get a lot of pussy. Am I right?
The teens snicker again.
Our share.
Yeah.
I know it.
Tie stick, dude. We got to.
The passenger team grudgingly agrees. They compile their monies and hand them to the dealer. Nathaniel slips the driver the tie stick. The passenger team looks up and sees something.
Dude.
Through the window, they see what appears to be an insane man wearing a red superhero costume running across the street. The Crimson Bolt tackles Nathaniel. They go down hard.
Oh, pushing scum!
The passenger team looks at his buddy.
Get out of here, man.
The driver stares at the tie stick in his lap.
Dude, I think this is just like sunflower seeds glued to a popsicle stick. It is!
It was right under your nose. Shit. Fuck.
The driver sees the fight beside him and, not knowing what to do, drives off. Nathaniel and the Crimson Bolt roll around the sidewalk like grade school kids in a particularly awkward and violent recess brawl. They stretch each other's shirts, get their backs all scratched up, that sort of thing. Nathaniel gets his hands on the Crimson Bolt's mask and twists it so that the eye holes are on the side of Frank's head. The dealer worms his way out from under him.
Why? You doing this to me, dog?
The Crimson Bolt stumbles towards him blinded, swinging with one arm while putting his mask back in place with the other. Nathaniel grabs a lid from a trash can and starts slamming the Crimson Bolt with it. The Bolt tries to protect himself from the blows. He stumbles back, toppling into the trash cans. The Crimson Bolt looks up to see two arch gangbangers running to join Nathaniel. The Bolt rolls up and runs away as quickly as he can. A dirty diaper is stuck to his costume. The gangbangers stop beside Nathaniel, watching him run. They chuckle. Interior Alpha Comics Day. Frank approaches Libby at the counter.
I'm looking for comic books of superheroes without powers.
Superheroes without powers?
Yeah. Ones that have weapons to defend themselves with.
Cool. All right.
Libby walks to the racks of comic books, slapping the sections she refers to. Frank takes a couple comics from each of the sections.
We have Batman. He has a batarang, utility belt, smoke bombs and stuff.
Utility belt.
Green Arrow. His weapon's bow and arrow.
Uh-huh.
Captain America. He has a shield. Shit, wait a minute. He has powers. He's a super soldier. Don't take those.
Frank puts back Captain America.
Catwoman. Badass. Whip. Nightwing. Same shit as Batman. Punisher. Guns. Iron Man. No superpowers, but inside a superpowered suit? Does that count?
I think this is enough.
All right, it doesn't count. I thought so. Almost didn't say it, but then I did.
Libby walks back behind the counter to ring Frank up.
Why do you need all these?
Research. I'm making up my own superhero. It needs a weapon.
Interior Frank's kitchen, day. Frank holds a lead pipe. A mannequin head is on the table in front of him. Frank smashes the pipe down onto the head, decimating it. Frank holds up the pipe, looking at it.
That'll do.
Exterior Euclid Avenue, night. Nathaniel, the drug dealer, leans into a car, making an exchange with a dude. As the car drives away, Nathaniel steps back onto the sidewalk, counting his money. That's when he looks up and sees the Crimson Bolt standing there with his lead pipe, now painted red.
Oh no, homie.
The Crimson Bolt strikes him with the lead pipe. He goes down. Crimson Bolt montage. Montage. Exterior Euclid Avenue, night. The Crimson Bolt walks towards us dramatically in slow motion. A couple of whores are in the background laughing at him. The Bolt walks up beside a telephone pole. He uses a stapler to staple a piece of paper to the pole. It's a photocopy. It reads, "Beware, crime. The Crimson Bolt is in your hood." and has a drawing of his mask and sunglass insignia. The Crimson Vault moves onto the next telephone pole with a stack of copies. We pull back and see all the telephone poles on both sides of the street are plastered with the flyers. Montage, exterior Old Woman Street, night. A purse snatcher runs up to an old woman and grabs her purse off her arm. It takes him a moment to get it untangled. By the time it's free, he sees the Crimson Vault running at him out of the shadows. The Crimson Vault tackles the man. He accidentally knocks over the old woman as well. The old woman cries in agony.
My hip.
The Crimson Vault beats the purse snatcher with his pipe. Montage, interior Frank's family room, day. Frank does pull-ups in his doorway. The words, "some of his children are chosen," pasted above it. Montage, exterior Chicken Hawk Street, night. A shadowy man in a car, a chicken hawk, pulls up alongside a bus stop with some young Latin boys wearing makeup and garish outfits. One of the boys, a chicken, gets into the car. The car pulls around the corner into a dark alley. Montage, exterior Chicken Hawk Alley / interior Seahawk car, night. The chicken hawk, a graying, middle-aged man, looks at the chicken with zoned-out lust. He undoes his pants when his window shatters beside him. The Crimson Bolt throws open the chicken hawk's car door and yanks him out onto the street. There, the bolt beats him a couple times with a lead pipe, then runs away. The Latin boy crawls out of the car and peers down at the unconscious chicken hawk. He fumbles through the man's pockets and finds a wallet with several $100s. He sees the Crimson Bolt running away in the distance. The young boy smiles brightly, holding the money.
Thanks, mister. What a great and sick failure.
Montage, interior Frank's family room, day. Frank punches a punching bag. Montage, exterior Euclid Avenue, night. The Crimson Bolt strikes a crack dealer in the side with his lead pipe. The dealer screams. Montage, later. The Crimson Bolt, crouched on a fire escape, drops a cement block onto a dealing transvestite. It strikes the transvestite in the shoulder. He wails. Montage, back to Old Woman Street. The Crimson Bolt finishes his work on the bloody purse snatcher and stands over him.
Don't steal!
Montage, exterior Chicken Hawk Street, night. The Bolt looks down at a sobbing old man, spitting up blood. A young chicken watches from inside the car.
Don't molest kids!
Montage, back to Euclid Avenue. The Crimson Bolt yells at the cowering crack dealer.
Don't deal drugs!
The Crimson Bolt looks up to see some gang members peering at him from behind a car. Others look at him from down the street or in their windows. The Crimson Bolt, spattered in blood, holds up his bolt rod in a majestic pose.
Shut up, crime!
The gang members, gaining courage, creep towards him. The Crimson Bolt pulls a smoke bomb and Bic lighter from his utility bolt. He lights the smoke bomb and throws it at them. The smoke bomb lands between the three men. It sizzles off a little red smoke, but hardly anything. The guys look at the Crimson Bolt, confused. What the hell is that supposed to do? The Crimson Bolt runs down the street as quickly as he can. He gets into his car and screeches away. End montage. Exterior Jacques' gate, later. Frank, in his costume but not his mask, sits in his car outside the ranch gates. Through one of the distant windows, he's able to make out Jacques' thug, Abe, trying to sober up a drugged-out Sarah, giving her coffee. Frank watches, remembering. Flashback, interior diner kitchen, day. Frank grills food while looking through the kitchen window into the diner. Sarah is there, beautiful in a waitress uniform, wiping off a table. Flashback, interior diner parking lot, night. Frank is getting into his car when Sarah approaches him.
Hey, Frank, think you can do me a favor and give me a ride to my meeting? My PO's gonna kill me if I miss this again.
Flashback, exterior church parking lot, night. Frank drops Sarah off. She looks at him.
You can come in if you want. It's open.
Flashback, interior church basement, later. A bunch of recovering drunks and druggies sit around the table, clamoring for a better life. That's when I need to give myself a little kiss. Keep it simple, stupid. Sarah and the drunks laugh. Frank watches from outside the circle. Sarah sees him and gives him a little wave. Flashback, exterior Dimitri's diner trash area, night. It's cold back here. Sarah is wearing a thick coat over her waitress uniform on a cigarette break. Frank is with her, no coat, trying to stay warm.
After spending that week in jail, man, never want to go back to any place like that again. It's been 2 months now, and I'm going to stay sober this time. Swear to God. Happy, joyous, and free all the way. You know what I mean, Frank?
Frank nods.
I've never been happy. Never. Not when I was a little girl. Not you.
No. But maybe it's overrated.
Sarah listens, which is almost startling to Frank. No one has listened to him much.
Happiness. Everyone runs around trying to be happy all the time. Like, it's all that matters. Why is happiness so much better than sadness or anger? Happy people are kind of arrogant.
Sarah stares at him.
Do people tell you you're weird, Frank?
Yes.
I guess you are. But also, you're different from other guys I've known. You're good.
Frank thinks about this.
Come here.
What?
I want to try something.
What?
Sarah stands up.
Come here.
Frank steps closer. Sarah kisses him. Frank is stiff still, but Sarah starts to cry. She kisses him longer. Flashback interior Frank's family room night. Sarah is on top of Frank having sex on the couch. Sarah is weeping. Frank watches her like he'd watch a sick zoo animal, concerned and confused. Same Frank. Flashback exterior outdoor cafe day. Sarah sits with her sister and Frank in an outdoor cafe. Sarah's sister looks upper middle class. Sarah is nervously happy. She's holding Frank's hand almost defiantly.
You can't be happy for me?
I'm happy for you, Sarah.
Fucking, you've always been like this. Even when we were kids, that disapproving little fucking...
No, Sarah, it's just fast. You got sober after how long? That's what they say about not making any major decisions for a year. Nothing against Frank. Nothing against you, Frank.
Okay.
Why can't you just be happy for me?
God, that's something they say on TV. See, that's what I mean. You need to find yourself before you just cull together all of these things you hear other people say and put them together into something you think is a personality, but
Sarah starts to cry and gets up to leave.
Sarah,
What if I know it's right?
Sarah.
What if it's the only thing that will save me?
Exterior Jacques Ranch night. Frank watches as Abe comes out with the drunken Sarah guiding her to his SUV. Flashback interior Frank's family room day. Frank and Sarah talk.
Naked women?
Not me. They just want me to be a hostess.
Those places, though.
Come on, Frank. I'm going to make so much more money than I can get at Dimitri's. Look at this furniture. People can see it through the window when they walk by. We look like white trash.
Flashback exterior bare assets night. Frank waits in his car. He's uneasy. The music's thumping. Sarah exits the front door in her hostess uniform and waves farewell to her new fellow employees. Sarah gets in the passenger seat.
Hey, baby.
She leans over and kisses Frank. Frank moves back in revulsion.
What?
You've been drinking.
No, I haven't.
Frank stares at her.
One beer, Frank. Fuck. That wasn't my problem. Come on. I've never had a problem with beer. It was the meth.
It's all one disease. I read it.
My probation's over in a month. It's not like they're going to do another urine test.
It's not about...
Everybody was toasting my first day and everything. It would have been rude. It would have been very fucking rude, Frank.
Back to scene. Frank watches sadly as Abe takes off with Sarah in the SUV. Frank makes a U-turn and heads in the opposite direction. Interior Dimitri's diner kitchen day. Frank and Hamilton are cooking. A small TV is on beside them. A reporter sits at a news desk.
The brutal assault by the costumed man calling himself the Crimson Bolt continued last night when he sent 42-year-old Gerard Maven to the hospital with a fractured collarbone.
Fuck. Check this shit out, man. Fuck.
Hamilton turns up the TV. Frank watches from the corner of his eye, pretending not to care.
Witnesses say this unusual criminal who wears a superhero costume attacked Maven without provocation.
On TV, Super, Sergeant Lawrence Fitzgibbon, DPD. Fitzgibbon is interviewed beside the crime scene.
A lot of people around the city are finding this situation amusing, but it's not a big leap for a psychopath to go from serial beatings to serial murders.
Police sketches of the Crimson Bolt appear on screen.
The DPD has asked for your help in finding the Crimson Bolt. He is described as a muscular Caucasian, about 6'5", with dark eyes and dark hair. Anyone with information, please call 1-800-KLJ-CRIME.
Back to scene.
Fuck. Must be some sort of sex thing for this motherfucker, huh?
What? No, I don't know. I have no interest in that. I've never heard of it.
What?
News to me.
How could you not hear of it, Frank? It's all they've been talking about. This crazy motherfucker dressed like a Superman, whacking people with a lead pipe all over the city. Wham! You're down. Maybe they
deserve to get whacked.
Yeah, deserve it. Yes.
I heard the people he hit, they're the ones who were criminals.
You just said you never heard of him, Frank.
I didn't. I haven't. They said it just now.
They did not. I just watched the whole thing with you.
Frank is caught in a lie.
Thought they did.
You're like a monkey.
No, I'm not.
Hey, so me and Tisha are going to the movies tomorrow. You want to meet us there?
I have some stuff to do.
What? Frank, what do you gotta do?
Nothing.
Good then. You can get there early and hold a place in line for us, okay?
Exterior movie theater day. Frank buys 3 tickets from the cashier. He turns to see a huge line curling around the building. Moments later, Frank waits in a long line. Not so far ahead of him, a rude man and his girlfriend butt into line. People grumble but don't do anything about it. The guy behind Frank is peeved.
Why do you people have to do that? We've been here for an hour.
Frank looks back at the guy, then down at the guy's kid. Frank takes a step out of line and looks up at the rude man.
Hey.
The rude man ignores him, chats with his girlfriend.
Hey. Hey, you.
The rude man looks at him.
No buts.
What difference does it make to you?
You butted in line. Now, go to the back of the line. Now.
Go fuck yourself.
The man goes back to talking to his girlfriend. Frank stares at him, then steps back in line. Frank fumes for a moment, trying to contain himself, but he can't stand it. He steps out of line and heads towards the parking lot. Exterior movie parking lot moments later. Frank walks to his car. He opens his trunk. His Crimson Bolt costume is folded neatly there. He grabs it, walks around to the driver's seat, opens his car door, gets inside. Moments later, Frank clumsily changes into his costume in the front seat, accidentally honks the horn. A little girl and her mom cross the lot. The little girl spots Frank's tidy whited butt sticking up through the rear window as he slips on his Crimson Bolt trousers. Moments later, the Crimson Bolt, looking determined, walks across the lot holding his red lead pipe. Exterior movie theater moments later. The Crimson Bolt steps onto the sidewalk. Various pedestrians stop to look at him. The movie line is now moving. The rude man sees the Crimson Bolt.
Don't butt.
Who do you think you're fooling? You're the guy I was just talking to.
The Crimson Bolt smacks the man in the face with his lead pipe. The man's face splits open. He stumbles backwards. Blood pulses from his head. The Crimson Bolt hits him again, knocking him down. People around him shriek. The rude man's girlfriend grabs onto the Crimson Bolt, trying to pull him back.
Get off him!
The Crimson Bolt turns towards her.
You butted too.
He smacks her with the lead pipe. She goes down. The Crimson Bolt hears sirens. He hastily departs. Hamilton and his girlfriend approach the theater looking around for Frank. They have just missed seeing the Crimson Bolt. Interior Dimitri's diner day. Libby, the girl from the comic book store, enters the mostly empty diner excited and stops beside an old man slurping soup. She has a newspaper. She sees Frank through the pickup window cleaning the grill.
Hey, did you see this?
She opens up the newspaper. The headline reads, "Costume Man Sends 2 to ICU." Frank looks around nervously. An older waitress is watching with interest. Frank shakes his head. No.
It's weird, right?
Weird.
It's just what we were talking about last week, you have to admit. Remember?
No.
No? About a guy being a real superhero? Can I come back there?
What?
Back there to be with you. We're friends. Can I? I'll wear plastic gloves.
Kitchen door's there, sweetheart.
Libby runs to the door. The waitress leans over to Frank, whispers.
Maybe she's fixing to ask you to prom, Frank.
No, I don't know her.
In the kitchen, Libby runs up to Frank, puts the paper down on the counter.
Remember?
No.
He's called a Crimson Bolt. His weapon is a lead pipe. Somebody finally did it. He became a real one.
Sort of. Crazy, man.
I'm Libby, by the way.
Libby.
Don't make a joke about Libby's on your label. That bums my world. What's your name?
Frank.
Well, I hope you'll be frank with me. Hope you'll continue to be frank during our discussions.
I have to get back to work.
I brought this for you.
Libby hands Frank a sheet. In bubbly lettering, it reads, Libby's new apartment bash.
You should come. It'll be fun.
Frank stares at her. Libby can't hold back any longer. She whispers.
Are you him?
What?
She points to the paper.
The guy. Are you this guy?
No,
It's okay if you are.
I'm not.
I think it's cool. I hate when people butt.
I have to get back to work. We're real busy.
Again, there are only like 2 people in the diner. Interior Frank's family room later. Frank runs into his family room. He's worried. He starts to open his coat closet when he stops himself. He turns and sees the large open window behind him. He looks outside to make sure no one's watching. He closes the blind. He opens the closet door. The Crimson Bolt costume hangs there limp. Frank snatches it off the hanger and stares at it as if it's cursed. Frank hears a knock at the front door. He tosses the costume back into the closet and shuts the door. Frank walks to the front door, peers out the peephole. POV, the fish-eyed image of Detective Felkner, the cop he met with at the police precinct, on the porch. As we angle on Frank's profile looking through the peephole, we see Frank's imagination superimposed in the shape of his brain on Frank's head. Brain, interior Frank's family room. Frank opens the door. Felkner slams inside, shoving him to the floor at gunpoint.
Sorry, I froze. Hands on your head, you freak.
Brain, interior interrogation room. Frank sits alone. Through the window, he can see Felkner holding up the Crimson Bolt costume to show other cops. Everyone points and laughs at it. Brain, interior courtroom. Frank stands before the judge. The judge smacks down his gavel. Brain, interior cell. Guards toss Frank onto the floor beside a toilet in a small cell. They slam the bars shut behind him. Frank peers down into the toilet. An enormous turd is curled up the circumference of the bowl. Frank turns. A fat Aryan covered in tattoos stands behind him, grinning. Brain, interior cell. Frank sobs as the Aryan fucks him in the ass. Back to scene. Frank, terrified, can't decide on whether to open the door or not. Felkner knocks again. Frank opens the door just a little, peeking out. He winces.
Hello?
Frank Jarbo, Detective John Felkner.
Frank stares at him.
You filed a report with me a couple weeks ago.
Frank kind of nods.
Mind if I come in for a second?
Inside the house?
Just a little chilly, yeah?
Frank, unsure, opens the door. Felkner enters. Frank is preoccupied with the closet door, glancing at it as if Felkner's going to open it and find his costume.
So you filed that report? Now you and I came together to the conclusion that your wife wasn't kidnapped.
Felkner notices Frank looking at the door.
That she left you, but there's something in there.
What?
That a basement?
Closet.
You just keep looking over there.
No, there's nothing in there.
All right.
There's a dog in there.
A Dog?
Frank nods.
You keep him in a closet?
Frank nods, but doesn't seem sure himself.
So I don't want him to bite.
You don't have to worry about that with me. I'm a dog person.
That's who he likes to bite most.
Huh.
Odd people.
Pause.
Okay. So you filed that kidnapping charge.
Frank notices behind Felkner's head that his photo is on the wall with the superhero mask over it.
My captain got wind of the report. Pretty serious charge.
Frank stares at Felkner with wide-eyed intensity, not looking away for even a second or even blinking, so Felkner can't follow his eyes to the photo. This makes Frank look more than a little freaky.
And she wanted me to come by and make sure that you still agreed, like you did that day, that your wife actually left on her own volition and
Felkner giggles at Frank's staring.
she wasn't actually kidnapped.
Felkner laughs again.
You're quite an intense fellow there, Frank.
Frank fumbles, embarrassed. Felkner sets a piece of paper on the table. He hands him a pen.
So if you wouldn't mind signing this, basically cancels out your charges, and I forgot to do it last time, Captain. She's going through the change of life and had a conniption fit.
Frank signs the sheet.
Thanks, Frank. I'll let you get back to whatever you were doing.
Interior, Frank's house moments later. Frank closes every single blind in his house. Interior, family room moments later. Frank tears the photo of him with the superhero mask stuck onto it off the wall. He tears the evidence into many, many little pieces and stuffs the pieces into a trash bag. Moments later, Frank stuffs the costume and bolt rod into the trash bag as well. Interior, Frank's kitchen moments later. Frank stuffs all his drawings and sewing patterns into the bag. Interior, Frank's family room moments later. Frank kneels, praying beside the couch in this darkened room.
Did you really call me to be the Crimson Bolt, or was that in my head? I don't want to go to jail and be raped in the butt and work at a library rolling around carts and handing out magazines for the rest of my life. Isn't violence against the Bible? Please give me a sign. Let me know if I should keep being the Crimson Bolt or if I should throw it all away before it's too late. I'll even turn myself in if that's what you want me to do. Please don't want me to do that.
Frank concentrates.
Did you say throw it all away? Or is that me thinking throw it all away?
Frank concentrates a moment longer.
All right, I'm going to throw it away. If I shouldn't, please give me a sign. Maybe you can make something float?
Frank snaps open his eyes and looks around. Nothing's floating. He grabs the trash bag, moves out. Exterior trash bin, night. Frank pulls his car up to this huge bin behind a fast food place after hours. He leaps out of his car, looks around to make sure no one's looking, and tosses the trash bag inside the trash can. He jumps back into his car and takes off. Interior Frank's bathroom later. Frank takes a shower, leaning against the wall and letting the water run down over him, cleansing himself. Interior Frank's family room later. Frank, in his robe, decompresses by watching TV. He flicks through the channels and comes to another episode of The Holy Avenger. He's fearful, but he can't look away. TV, interior factory, day. The Holy Avenger stands with his teenage compatriots Holly and Jim. Holly is dressed like a slut in heavy makeup and hot pants. Jim is in some lurid West Hollywood-esque tight jean shorts. The trio walks along an enormous futuristic powder gun pointing out a window. That's right, Holly. This gun is what Demonswill used to spray his lust dust over the city. The very dust that caused you and Jimmy to dress in those revealing outfits and download those pornographic images onto your computer. They walk in front of Demonswill, who is tied up with rope and struggling to get free.
I'm so stupid. Sex is a sacred act which should only take place within a loving marriage.
The camera tilts down, revealing a pair of large fake nipple rings on Jim. No doubt. My virginity is something to be proud of. I'm going to get these nipple rings taken out tomorrow.
And to think I missed the field hockey tournament, all because Jim and I were heavy petting. Thank goodness we didn't do more.
If only the two of you would have had premarital intercourse, I would have won. And you would have been damned to hell forever.
But they didn't have intercourse, Demonswill. Close up, Holy Avenger looks at the camera almost as if he's speaking directly to Frank. Because it didn't matter how much peer pressure Jim and Holly were under to do what society said was right. In their hearts, they knew they couldn't throw away what Jesus had called them to do. Back to scene. Frank stares at the TV, a bit disappointed by what this means. Exterior trash bin later. Frank is in the bin. He finds his trash bag. He opens it. The costume, bolt rod, etc. are all still there. Interior Frank's car moments later. Frank drives home. The trash bag is beside him. Moments later, Frank's car stops at an intersection. Frank glances up at the street sign, Bedlington Avenue. He stares at it, torn. Hesitantly, he flips on his blinker. He turns down the street. Exterior Jacques' gate moments later. The Crimson Bolt in full costume stands at the giant gates, peering between the rails, trying to get a glimpse of Sarah. His car is parked at the curb behind him. He can't see anything. He walks along the gates and can see, up over the hill, a window with light and loud music coming through, but he can't see what's inside. The Crimson Bolt snaps a short rope with a metal hook latch on it from his utility belt. He swings it like a lasso, then tosses it towards the top of the gate. The metal latch doesn't hook onto it and falls back down. He tries again, tossing the hook latch towards the top of the gate. This time it bounces off and snaps back into his eye. The Crimson Bolt puts his special rope away, which, let's admit, it wasn't really necessary in the first place, and just climbs the gate. Atop the gate, the Crimson Bolt surveys the landscape. The grounds are covered with thick bushes and places to hide. He jumps off the gate. Exterior Jacques' grounds, moments later. The Crimson Bolt runs from bush to bush, getting closer to the ranch house. Jacques' ranch window, moments later. The Crimson Bolt arrives at the ranch itself. The music is louder. The Bolt sneaks up to the window and peers inside. Toby is walking past the window, holding a stack of tightly wound packets. He stumbles a bit and drops the packets. He starts picking them up and setting them on the windowsill. Because of the darkness and glare on the window, Toby can't see the Crimson Bolt, even though he's only a couple feet away. Abe approaches Toby.
Toby, be fucking careful. I don't want nothing missing.
Toby smiles, playing the clown, how a little guy like him copes in this macho environment. So you want something missing?
What?
You just said a double negative, Abe. You don't want nothing missing. That means you want something missing. Abe grabs Toby's head and grinds his fist into Toby's eye. Ow!
These people. This guy, Range, he ain't gonna fuck around.
I know.
You realize how hard we worked getting this into the country?
That hurt, Abe. Abe walks away. Toby picks up his stack and moves to a table in the back of the room. On the table are stacks of heroin in packets. Other thugs enter from the garage, loading the table with packets. Mike is keeping track of the packets, weighing them, and writing it all down. Sarah is sitting in a small recliner, barefoot, waiting. At her feet, another thug, Quill, is preparing a syringe. Jacques watches, worried and impatient.
All right, you ready?
Almost.
Hey, Jacques, what if this stuff ends up being crap? Hey, Mikey, no offense, but do me a favor and shut the fuck up.
Sarah gazes with lust at the syringe. The thugs stop what they're doing and watch in anticipation.
Okay, this is the kind of like hitting the champagne bottle against the side of the boat, huh? Christening.
The Crimson Bolt watches in horror as Mike slides the needle between Sarah's toes, injecting her with heroin. Sarah tilts her head back in euphoria.
I was.
Oh, God.
That's good.
Oh, God.
Sarah is barely able to nod. Jacques hoots in triumph. Woo! He picks the dazed Sarah up by the shoulders and kisses her hard. And as the Crimson Bolt watches, he has a vision of Jacques' face transforming into a goat-like Satan's. The Crimson Bolt looks at the happy thugs around them. All their faces have transformed into the rotting faces of the damned. Only Sarah remains pure, glowing like the Virgin. The Crimson Bolt hollers and throws his lead pipe at the window. The glass shatters. The men shout and cover themselves. Faces return to normal.
Fuck!
There's a guy there.
Right the ass of the Crimson Bolt!
Abe pulls a pistol from inside his coat. He aims it at the Crimson Bolt. The Bolt sees this and dashes away. That's Sarah's husband, man. That's him.
We just saw everything. Get him!
Abe shoots out the window at the disappearing figure. He misses. Quill uses a coat to wipe the sharp fragments from the bottom of the window pane. Quill jumps out, followed by Abe, Mike, and Toby.
There.
On the grounds, the Crimson Bolt darts around the bushes. Behind him, you can see the four men chasing him. Quill sees the Crimson Bolt dash from one bush to another.
There.
Oh, okay. Abe and Mike shoot at him. The Crimson Bolt crouches, his hands over his head, and waddles towards the fence. The men lose track of him again. They fan out.
Where'd he go?
The Crimson Bolt runs behind shrubbery along the gate. When he can't see the men anymore, he climbs the fence. Abe stops him atop the fence, a fair distance away. He aims, taking his time, and shoots. The Crimson Bolt is clipped in the leg. He falls off the fence into the sidewalk on the other side with a holler. But despite the pain, he keeps moving. He crawls to his car. He flings open his passenger door. He pushes himself inside, staying crouched down. Mike appears inside the gate and blasts at the car. The passenger window shatters over the Crimson Bolt. He gets the keys in the ignition. The Crimson Bolt gets the car started and peels away. The men run out the opening gate after him, shooting. Interior Frank's car. The Crimson Bolt drives woozily. He holds tightly to his leg, stopping the flow of blood. Something is on the floor, stuck to his boot. It's Libby's pink neon party flyer, getting soaked in his blood. Interior Libby's front room, night. Disco music plays. A few partiers are gathered, geeky guys and gals in their late teens, early 20s. A couple people dance. Some others drink beers in moderation. There's a knock at the door.
Libby, somebody's here.
Libby doesn't come, so the blonde goes to answer the door herself. Interior Libby's kitchen, moments later. Libby is putting together a tray full of Cheese Whiz hors d'oeuvres. Christian, a pimply-faced guy she's dating, is behind her, grabbing her waist, kissing her neck. Libby enjoys it, giggling. The blonde enters.
Libby, some guy who looks like a bum is at the door. His name is Frank. Frank?
Interior Libby's front room. Frank waits, wearing an outfit made of garbage bags and duct tape covering his costume. He's leaning against the doorway, taking the pressure off his leg. He's sweating in agony. The disco music blasts around him. The kids in the room pretend they're not staring at him. Libby comes in from the other room.
Frank! Hey! Why are you wearing garbage bags?
I need to talk to you.
Okay. Everybody, this is Frank. This is Molly. Hey!
Frank nods at her.
This is Christian.
What's up?
That's Melissa and Ryan Grant.
Assorted nods and grunts are exchanged. Frank is about to faint with the pain. He's sweating profusely.
Ty, Ellen Jr., Bob.
I really need to talk now. It's important.
Oh, okay. Come on back to my room.
Libby moves towards her room. Frank limps after her. One of the kids looks down and notices Frank's red boots with lightning bolts on them. Christian follows Libby.
No, Christian, you wait here.
Christian stops following. He's embarrassed.
Brothers, moving in on your poon, bro.
Bullshit. It's like her uncle or something. Fucking Travis.
Interior Libby's bedroom. Libby closes the door behind them.
What?
They're after me. And I was shot.
Frank tears away his garbage bags, revealing his Crimson Bolt costume. An oily towel wrapped around his knee is soaked with blood. Libby shrieks, more excited than anything else. Libby shrieks again. There's knocking at the door.
Libby, are you all right?
You are him. I knew it. That's so cool. I can't believe it. That's so cool. Are you going to die?
I don't think so.
Oh my God. We have to clean it up, right?
Frank nods.
Because you can't go to the hospital. The hospital has to call the police if there's a gunshot wound, Frank. It's a law.
I know.
All right. Take off your pants.
Be in my underwear.
Just do it. I'll get people out of here. I won't tell them anything, Frank. Look at my hair. They're troubling.
Interior Libby's front room, moments later. Libby pushes her friends out the door.
Night, night. Libby, you're gonna be here all alone with that guy. It's okay, it's okay. Something important came up. Bye. See you later. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye.
Christian is the only one left standing there. He looks like he's about to cry.
Christian, go.
Who's that? Is that your sugar daddy?
I don't have to tell you anything. Just go.
You don't have to tell me anything?
No.
Christian slaps the wall in fury.
Enjoy your candy that your sugar daddy buys you.
Christian rushes out the door. Libby closes the door and turns back to her bedroom. Interior Libby's bedroom, moments later. Frank is on the bed in his underwear. His leg is up, the wound exposed. Libby sits beside him. She has a tray with supplies on it, rubbing alcohol, cotton, gauze, etc. Libby holds up an enormous pliers.
What are you doing?
You have to get the bullet out, Frank.
Pass through. It's not in there.
What if there's fragments?
Frank shoves her hand with the pliers down.
All right.
Libby looks at the tray. She picks up the open bottle of rubbing alcohol and some gauze. She holds them over Frank's leg, not really knowing what to do, and then she pours the whole bottle on his leg. Frank screams, slapping the bottle across the room. This hurts worse than being shot.
Sorry. I should have given you ibuprofens. I was going to give you ibuprofens.
Frank waits for the tremendous pain to die down. Frank grabs the gauze to wrap the wound.
I'll wrap it.
Libby watches Frank as he wraps it. She waits a few moments.
So am I the only one to know about you being him?
Yeah. No, the guys that did this, I guess they
know your secret identity. Fuck.
and where I live.
Well, you can sleep here tonight if you want.
Thanks.
Interior police station, night. Felkner sits at his desk typing a report, bored. He picks up his I love my cat mug of coffee. He glances down at the newspaper beneath it. The mug left a ring around the police sketch of the Crimson Vault. Felkner stares at it, trying to remember who the sketch reminds him of. Then he does.
Sorry. Holy crap!
Felkner stands and grabs his coat from his chair. He turns to his captain, a heavy-set woman in a glass office beside him. She's flush, mopping sweat off her brow.
Captain will be right back. I may have something, but we want to check it out first.
That's fine, John.
Felkner nods, leaves. Exterior Frank's house, night. Felkner pulls up in front of Frank's house. Exterior Frank's house, moments later. As Felkner approaches, he notices that the door is cracked open, though all the lights are turned off. Felkner pushes lightly on the door.
Hello? Hello?
Interior Frank's family room, moments later. Felkner enters Frank's house. He looks around. It seems like nobody's home. Felkner, not the greatest detective in the world, doesn't notice that all of Frank's stuff has been rummaged through. Instead, he focuses on the closet of which Frank had been so protective. He moves towards it, opens it. It's empty.
Welcome home, Frank.
Felkner turns to see three men pointing guns at him. Felkner himself is in silhouette. They shoot. Felkner's body is riddled with bullets. He falls back dead. Abe, Quill, and Mike move forward. Felkner's face has fallen into a beam of light. Mike crouches.
Is this the guy? This don't look like the guy. Is this him?
Mike pulls out Felkner's badge.
It's a cop. Oh, fuck. Fuck.
The cops are looking for you, bro. If they find him and he tells them what he saw.
I know. Just get the body out of here.
Interior Libby's front room, day. Frank sits on the couch. His leg is well wrapped. He wears Libby's oversized pajama t-shirt, which is far too small on him. He's on the phone.
Thanks, Hamilton. Yeah, I will. Bye.
Frank hangs up. Libby peeks around the hall doorway.
Hey, Frank.
Told the diner I had pneumonia. Are you sure it's okay I stay here?
Yeah, totally. I want you to see something, okay?
What?
Libby enters wearing gym clothes. She does some cartwheels around the room for a while. She's not so great at them, but not bad either. Then she stops. She beams at Frank, smiling broadly. He doesn't say anything.
So,
Cartwheels.
you see what I'm getting at?
Frank shakes his head.
Batman and Robin. The original Human Torch had Toro. The Flash had Kid Flash. That skinny fellow and the fat dude. I could be your kid sidekick.
How old are you?
22? But compared to you, I'm a kid, right?
Yes.
But the important thing is, what would my name be?
She pulls out a list.
Now, when you hear the name, imagine what it would sound like next to the Crimson Bolt, okay? Like the Crimson Bolt and Bolt Girl.
Frank stares at her.
The Crimson Bolt and Kid Crimson.
Frank stares at her.
The Crimson Bolt and Creeping Bam.
It's a creeping bam.
The fuck's a Toro? What the fuck's a Robin?
Robin's a bird.
Why is he named after a bird?
I don't know.
Creeping Bam is a fantastic phrase, Frank. I didn't want to tell you before, but it's my favorite.
Good.
You're totally lying.
I don't really need a kid sidekick.
You're kidding, right?
No.
Look what happens to you when you don't have a kid sidekick, Frank. You get shot by people. Together, me and you could take down those cocksuckers that stole your wife, right?
Frank is unsure. Interior Libby's bedroom, day. Frank is walking around the room trying out his leg. It's healing nicely and in much better shape.
You ready?
Frank nods towards the bathroom door, then realizes she can't see this.
Yeah.
Libby flings open the door. She's wearing a form-fitting bright yellow and green spandex costume. It's better tailored than Frank's costume, but also more garish and costumey.
Ta-da! Bolty! How do I look?
Bolty does some poses for Frank. She sticks her butt out to the side and rests her hand on it, etc. The poses are provocative and sexy. They embarrass Frank.
Good.
Come on, let's go get Jacques.
They have guns. We're not ready for that yet.
Then let's go fight some other crime. Show me how you do it.
My leg's not all the way better.
Don't be a pussy. Come on.
Interior, Euclid Avenue later. The Crimson Bolt and Bolty are crouching behind a trash can. She whispers.
This is what you do?
Uh-huh.
You wait here for crime to happen?
Yeah.
Beat.
This is boring. Why don't we go find someone who's a criminal and then teach him a lesson he'll never forget?
Like who?
I know this guy, Jerry. He keyed my friend's new car. Totally fucked up the side of it.
That's not cool.
I know. And it's totally illegal. He never paid the price.
Exterior, Jerry's parents' house later. Jerry, a mellow, long-haired dude, answers the door. The TV's on in the background of this well-to-do home. Jerry, eating a bowl of Fruit Loops, looks at the Crimson Bolt and Bolty.
Jerry?
Halloween was a month ago, bro.
That's him.
Crimson Bolt tackles him. Jerry falls back. Interior, Jerry's parents' house, day.
Hey!
Fucking cocksucker!
Bolty kicks him as he's on the floor. Jerry grabs her leg, pushing her away from him. She tumbles back and hits her elbow on a coffee table. She screams.
My arm! Ow! It's just like when you got shot, Frank!
The Crimson Bolt grabs Jerry from behind, pulling him away from Bolty. Bolty, furious, grabs a Waterford vase and swings it into Jerry's face. It smashes.
Fucking asshole! Fucking son of a bitch!
Jerry falls to the floor, clutching his glass-embedded face. Libby stomps on his neck with her heel. Jerry gasps for breath. The Crimson Bolt is confused. He puts out his hand to calm her. Jerry is wailing in agony.
Bolty, stop it.
Libby screams with rage. She picks up an enormous bronze Western statue of a man on wild horseback and is about to bring it down into Jerry's head. It will clearly kill him. The Crimson Bolt stops her.
Stop it.
Jerry is rolling on the floor, clutching his injured head and neck, gasping and moaning. Libby looks around excited, breathing heavily and smiling.
We stopped him! We totally stopped evil!
We're not supposed to kill him.
They'd never key anybody's car again, would he? Brand new fucking Jetta! Melissa loved that car! People like this, Frank. You can't teach them any other way.
Oh.
What, Frank?
The Bolt waves his hands, trying to get her to shut up. Jerry moans again in agony. The Bolt looks down at him, about to cry.
You keyed your friend's car?
I'm pretty sure it was him.
Exterior Jerry's parents' house moments later. The Crimson Bolt stomps angrily out of the home. Bolty runs after him. She's scared.
I didn't know I wasn't supposed to kill him, Frank. I'm just learning. How am I supposed to know things if you don't teach me?
I can't tell crime to shut up if I'm having to shut up.
I know. I just wanted to help you, Frank. That's what it is all about for me. Being a kid sidekick, helping people. He was evil. He's so fucking evil and you don't believe me.
Interior Frank's car later. Frank, still upset, finishes buttoning up his civilian duds as he drives down the road. Libby is in the backseat crying as she changes into her street clothes.
Does this mean I'm fired?
Frank doesn't answer. They come to a stoplight.
Frank, does it mean I'm fired then?
Yes.
Or are you gonna get to be Bolty?
I don't need a Bolty.
That's so shallow, Frank.
Frank looks at his dashboard. Car's on empty. He pulls into exterior gas station. Frank gets out of the car. Libby ducks down to finish getting dressed.
I'm in my bra.
As Frank pumps gas, he doesn't see an SUV pulling behind him. Toby and Quill step out of the SUV.
It is my grandmother or a corpse.
Right. Who would you rather fuck? If somebody pointed a gun at your head and you had to choose. Quill starts to fill their car with gas.
Who would do that?
That's not the point. See, like, I'd do my grandma, because at least she's got a working pussy. You want smokes? Quill shakes his head. Toby goes to the cashier. A pack of more. Toby spots Frank pumping gas. He swirls towards Quill. Psst. Quill sees Frank. As Frank finishes pumping gas and turns to put his nozzle back, he sees Quill and Toby lunging towards him. He drops the nozzle. He opens the car door. But Toby and Quill grab him before he gets inside. Frank falls. He reaches inside his car, coming away with only the Crimson Bolt mask in his hand. Libby sits up in the back seat. She looks around, but Frank is hidden from view.
Frank?
Frank sees a gun in Toby's jacket. He untangles himself from the pair and runs down the street.
Get the car.
Quill chases Frank. Toby jumps into the SUV. Libby sees Quill chasing Frank down the street. She spots Toby driving off after them.
Shit.
She crawls into the driver's seat. Storefront street. Frank, trying to ignore his sore leg, runs past shops and pedestrians as Quill chases him. Toby pulls the SUV in front of Frank and gets out, running towards him. Frank stops, trapped between the two men. He runs across the busy street, barely avoiding honking cars, and into an alley. Frank stops for a moment. He looks down at his leg, which is sore and bleeding again. Frank pulls the Crimson Bolt mask onto his face. He sees Quill and Toby making their way across the street behind him. He moves again. Libby drives Frank's car after Quill and Toby and towards the alley, but the alley's too narrow for the car. She looks for another way and drives off in a different direction. Back to alley. The Crimson Bolt, wearing his mask but in regular clothes, Hobble runs out of the alley into a street. Quill catches up to the Crimson Bolt. He grabs his shirt. The shirt rips as both of them fall to the sidewalk. Quill and Toby jump on the Crimson Bolt, punching him. A couple of passers-by stop across the street watching the scene. One man calls 911 on his cell phone. The Crimson Bolt gets in one good blow to Toby's face, sending him careening backwards. Toby puts his fingers to his lips and looks at the blood. He pulls his gun from his jacket and he aims it at the Crimson Bolt. Fuck you, Frank. Toby hears something. He turns. Bolty is driving Frank's car fast, straight towards him. The car slams into Toby, shattering and pinning his legs back against a brick wall. Toby screams. He drops his gun. The Crimson Bolt grabs it and swings it towards Quill.
Huh?
The Bolt shuts his eyes tight, turns his head, and shoots. Quill, surprised, looks down at his abdomen. A large blood flower blossoms there, and he falls over. Balti hops out of the car, half in her costume, half in her bra with her mask on. She points at the dying Toby and laughs loud and fake.
Ha ha ha! That's what you get for fucking with the Crimson Bolt and Bolty, you stupid cocksucker. Your legs are gone now. Ha ha ha!
The Crimson Bolt looks around at a crowd forming. He grabs Balti, ushering her back towards the car.
Come on.
You too! It's called internal bleeding, fucker, and then you die. Woo!
The Crimson Bolt pushes Balti into the backseat, closing the door on her. He gets into the driver's seat. He tries to start the engine, but it won't turn over. The crowd around continues staring. Balti rolls down her car window.
Tell everyone you know that anytime some stupid fucking bastard wants to commit some gay-ass crime, Crimson Bolt and Bolty will be there, crushing their stupid fucking evil heads forever.
One woman claps. A little kid waves at Balti. The Crimson Bolt gets the car started. He scrapes away from Toby, who topples over. The car chugs away. Exterior Libby's garage, evening. Frank pulls the car into Libby's small apartment garage. Moments later, Libby looks around and closes the garage door behind her. Interior Libby's garage, moments later. It's very dark. We can only see parts of Frank and Libby in the light coming through the garage door windows and other cracks. They look at the battered car.
Wow, the Boltmobile is fucked up.
People could have seen the license plate.
Oh no. Hey, Frank,
What?
I saved your life.
Could have handled it.
Ha! I bet you could. You're fucking awesome, Frank.
If you're gonna be my sidekick, you can't cuss.
I know. I agree. Does that mean I'm not fired anymore?
You need to get ready for Jacques. We need better weapons.
How about some claws? Like Wolverine.
Okay.
That I can cut people's faces open with.
Only people who have actually broken the law.
Of course. That Jerry thing will only happen that one time. It was a total mistake. I wasn't thinking. My head ran away with my mind. Things got out of control. I was throwing a rodeo thing on him. It wasn't my fault.
All right.
I was just so bored behind that trash can.
Maybe you have to be bored sometimes.
You never see them bored in comic books, Frank.
It happens in between the panels.
Whoa. That's where we are now, right? In between the panels.
Frank looks at Libby. She's somewhat beautiful and innocent in the darkness. He nods.
So we can do anything here. Hey, Frank.
What?
Want to make out?
What?
With me.
I'm married, Libby. It's a sacred bond, and you're my kid's sidekick.
Okay. All right. I guess. I just wanted to, like celebrate somehow.
Bake a cake.
Frank leaves.
Don't have to be mean about it.
Exterior Convention Center day. A banner reads, Northington Gun and Knife Show. Pull back to reveal the convention center across which the banner is draped. Hicks and pickup trucks fill the parking lot. People crowd into the auditorium. Tilt down to Frank and Libby looking up. Montage. Frank and Libby have fun at the gun show. Libby checks out the pump action on a rifle. She pretends to shoot Frank, but she gets in trouble from the dealer because she's not supposed to point it at people. Frank and Libby try on Kevlar vests and bulletproof helmets. Libby wavers because it's so heavy. Frank leaves through the pages of a black munitions book. He reads a page. How to make a pipe bomb. He grins. Frank and Libby, laughing, roll around a shopping cart with loads of dangerous items. They're both wearing mesh baseball caps with pro-gun slogans on them. A guy, not looking where he's going, almost knocks over Libby. Libby, pissed, picks up a hunting knife and starts after him. Frank stops her. In the parking lot, they load the items into their trunk and close it.
Public opinion has turned of late in regards to the costumed man known as the Crimson Bolt.
Interior Libby's front room day. An old TV sits on a shaky stand.
The Tribune this morning revealed that at least 5 of the Crimson Bolt's assault victims had felony arrest records, ranging from soliciting drugs to child molestation to homicide.
Libby, watching the TV, yells to the other room. Behind her, a workbench is set up with knives, gunpowder, etc.
Frank! Frank!
Was the law enforcement community rash in naming the Crimson Bolt a menace?
On TV, exterior police HQ. Loud reporters surround Sergeant Fitzgibbon.
We're talking about a severely disturbed individual running around wearing a mask and assaulting people.
People.
On TV, interior hospital room. The old woman Frank, protected from the purse snatcher, sits on the bed.
The man tried to steal my purse and then he forced himself on me sexually. If the Crimson Bolt hadn't arrived, who knows what would have happened?
On TV, exterior street. Behind the man who called 911, police clean up the deadly mess left by the Crimson Bolt and Bolty.
I don't know what the other situations, but this time the guy in the mask was clearly defending himself.
Back to newsroom.
Helping the Crimson Bolt is his new partner, a young woman known only as Bolty.
Libby shrieks with excitement. A police sketch of her in costume comes up on the TV.
Oh my god, 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 Frank, it's...
She shrieks again.
Police are still offering a reward for the capture of the two would-be crime fighters. And speaking of crime fighters, here's Dirk Kirkpatrick with the weather.
Ha! I always had a feeling I'd be on TV someday.
Libby approaches Frank. He's welding metal cuffs with a blade attached. He aims the cuff at a board across the room and pushes a button on his elbow. The blade flies out, projected through the air, and lands on a wooden board across the room.
Hey, cool, Frank. How'd you learn to make a projectile thingy?
Libby points to piping and gunpowders beside him.
What are those?
Not sure if I'm doing them right. But if I am, bombs.
Interior Libby's front room, night. Pan across the knives, bombs, and other weapons. Across paint cans and the emblems and colors they paint onto the Kevlar vests and helmets. And pan to Frank, who's asleep on the couch.
Hey, Frank. Frank, are you awake?
Frank opens his eyes a little. Libby is wearing her Bolty costume and holding Frank's mask.
What?
Are you awake?
Frank stares at her.
Hi.
Are you in your costume?
Can we go out and find some crime?
I'm sleeping.
Please.
No.
Frank,
What?
do I look good in this costume?
Libby does one of her weird, sort of sexy poses. Frank turns away from her.
Do I?
Yeah. I need to sleep, Libby.
Frank.
He doesn't answer. Libby turns on the stereo. Frank is confused.
You can't make out with me, but can the Crimson Bolt make out with Bolty?
What?
The Crimson Bolt isn't married to Sarah. Frank is, right? Come on.
Frank turns to see Libby rubbing her crotch.
Come on, Frank. Since you've been here, I can't do it with other guys. And when's the last time you did anything, huh? Can't we do it just this once?
No, get out of here.
You like to look at me in my costume, Frank. I can tell. Don't be a fucking liar.
Libby pulls down her waistband.
What are you doing?
Frank, just look at it for a second. Please, Frank.
Libby, stop it.
It's all gushy.
Frank looks away.
Here, put this on.
Frank blocks Libby, but she pushes through. She stretches the mask awkwardly over Frank's head. Frank starts to remove it, but Libby grabs his hand and guides it between her legs.
Here, just for a second.
Frank is sweating, tugged between desire and disgust. For just a moment, he stills, giving in to his lust. Libby moves his hand on her.
Oh, yes.
Libby pulls Frank's pants down a little.
No, Libby.
But he doesn't stop her. Libby grits her teeth and begins jerking on his penis.
Oh.
She jerks too hard.
Ow!
Oh, sorry. Stay there, Frank. Okay, just a second.
Libby crawls on top of him.
Libby, no.
Hold on. Be quiet.
No!
Frank goes to push her away, but she pushes his arms down hard. She pushes him inside of her as she moans. Frank throws his arms over her face.
Don't cover your face. I want to see your mask. I want to see you.
Libby pulls his arm away from his face. Libby breathes heavily, moving faster on top of him.
No, Libby, no.
Oh, I'm coming. Fuck.
Frank, despite himself, also climaxes. Libby collapses, holding on to him, heaving. Frank lies there a moment, then he shouts. He throws Libby off him.
Ow, hey!
Frank runs into the bathroom. Interior Libby's bathroom, night. Frank falls to his knees and vomits in the toilet. He sobs.
God, why? Well, I'm sorry.
Frank slams his fist on the toilet. He throws a trash can against the wall and rampages further, kicking and slapping the cabinets.
What do I do now? What do I...
Frank stares at his vomit in the toilet. The little specks are dispersing, and his vomit forms the shape of Sarah's face. Frank, as you might imagine, is in awe. Interior Libby's front room moments later. Frank busts into the room. He starts gathering up their weapons and supplies.
We need to go get Sarah.
I'm sorry, Frank. I was sleepwalking. I didn't know what.
It doesn't matter. We need to go.
But you said we weren't ready to take on Jacques.
We'll never be ready. That's the point. No one's ever ready for anything. They just either do it or not. And up to now, I've only been not doing it.
But what if they kill you?
That's their business.
Cut to exterior Jacques' ranch, night. Two large SUVs roll in towards the gate. Abe's waiting inside the bars. A tinted window on the SUV rolls down. A driver nods at Abe. Abe nods back. Abe slips his card into the gate opener. Doors open. The SUV passes through. Abe whispers into a walkie-talkie while following them on foot.
They're coming up.
Interior ranch foyer. Mike's kicking back and a lazy boy on the other walkie-talkie.
Gotcha.
He looks to Jacques, who's adjusting his suit in the mirror.
They're coming up.
Eastern European hookers in their Sunday best are assembled around them. Sarah's on a couch, nodding out. The tightly wrapped packets of heroin are stacked on the table.
This is the big one.
Jacques uses antibacterial lotion on his hands, claps. Exterior Jacques' gate. The Crimson Bolt and Bolty are perched atop the gate, gazing down at the grounds. They're wearing colorful Kevlar vests with their insignias over their regular uniforms. The Crimson Bolt has an elaborate Rambo-esque ammunitions belt across his chest and a gas can strapped to his back. Bolty has long, sharp, Wolverine-type claws sprouting from her forearms. Our heroes watch as the SUVs pull in front of the ranch.
Who are those guys?
Frank shakes his head. He doesn't know.
Maybe we picked the wrong night to be here, do you think?
Exterior Jacques' ranch. Jacques comes out to greet Mr. Range, a large, ugly man, as he steps out of an SUV. Range's sizable posse emerge from the SUVs as well, including a bodyguard carrying a titanium briefcase.
Mr. Range, so good to see you, sir.
Mr. Range's handshake is limp, gross.
I'd like to post a couple of my men out here.
We have a few guys here already, sir.
Couple more, son.
Mr. Range nods to his men, directing them where to go.
Sure, that's not a problem.
Jacques smiles his charming bastard smile and opens the door for Range. Exterior grounds. The Crimson Bolt and Bolty move through the bushes. Bolty stops, out of breath.
This shit is heavy.
She falls onto her side with the weight of the Kevlar and other equipment.
Just let me lie here for a second.
No, come on.
Interior Jacques' foyer. A couple of Mr. Range's men, scientist types, adeptly set up scales and a mini lab next to the packets of heroin. Mr. Range looks at the heroin.
Show him.
Mr. Range's bodyguard opens the briefcase for Jacques. Inside are stacks of $100 bills. Jacques catches his breath, nods. Mr. Range notices all the hookers.
And who are these young ladies, Jacques?
You know me. I'm always one for facilitating friendships. I thought you could use a little company while your men did their job.
Mr. Range peruses the whores. He spots Sarah in the corner. He stares at her.
What's your name, sweetheart?
Jacques chuckles a little.
Well, that's Sarah. She's
You're a very pretty girl, Sarah. Very pretty girl. Maybe you want to go upstairs, have a little party with Mr. Range.
Sarah looks to Jacques.
Jacques?
Jacques chuckles again.
There, baby. Mr. Range, he's a nice man. Just for a little while, baby.
Mr. Range takes Sarah's hand and leads her towards the stairs. Abe gives Jacques a disapproving look.
Fuck. When guys start thinking your girlfriend's a whore, it's time to move on, right?
Exterior grounds. The Crimson Bolt and Bolty dart behind a bush. They spot a hood standing, reading a paperback novel in the light of a bug zapper. The Crimson Bolt nods towards a tree a few feet away. Bolty moves towards it. The Crimson Bolt peeks his head up over a bush. He does a fake voice.
You're a jerk.
Mike?
The hood moves, looks around for the voice. He comes upon the Crimson Bolt in the bushes.
Oh, Jesus.
He reaches for his gun. Bolty jumps down from the tree above him, knocking him over. She raises her claws and slices into him.
Ha ha!
The Crimson Bolt puts his fingers to his lips. Shh. Bolty makes the whoops face and covers her mouth. Interior ranch bedroom. Mr. Range undresses Sarah as she stares at the ground, trying to keep her mind on other things. Exterior poolside. One of Mr. Range's thugs is pacing by the pool. He hears the Crimson Bolt's fake voice.
Hey, over here, I'm a little bird.
The confused thug walks towards the voice, and on the way, he trips over a fishing wire strung across the pavement. He falls into a large puddle of liquid. He sees an empty gas can on its side beside him. He looks up to see the Crimson Bolt dropping a match. The flame zigzags up to him. The thug bursts into flames. He screams. Nearby, 3 thugs hear the screams. Interior ranch foyer. It's quiet here. Mike gently rocks himself in the lazy boy, watching the scientist types take a chemical read on the heroin. He doesn't look out the window beside him where the flame's light flickers against the trees. Exterior grounds. The Crimson Bolt rushes in towards the flaming man. He stabs him with a hunting knife until he shuts up, but it's too late. The thugs ascend the hill towards the Crimson Bolt and Bolty. Our heroes move into some shrubs. Interior ranch bedroom. Mr. Range is crawling on top of Sarah in the bed.
No.
Yes, dear.
No.
Mr. Range pushes her down violently as he forces himself onto her. Sarah screams. Interior ranch foyer. Jacques, Abe, Mike, and the others hear Sarah's scream. They ignore it. Exterior grounds. The 3 thugs come upon the Crimson Bolt in the shadows, lighting something on fire.
This dipshit again.
What are you holding, asshat?
The Crimson Bolt tosses the lit object at the thugs. It lands at Thug 1's feet. A pipe bomb. It explodes. Thug 1 is blown to pieces. The other 2 are thrown backwards. Intercut. Bolty shouts loudly, the giddy war cry of a drunken sorority girl. In the bedroom, Mr. Range hears the blast. He scrambles off Sarah, avoiding the window. He reaches for his jacket to grab his gun. In the foyer, everyone, the hookers, Jacques, Abe, and Mike, are standing now.
What the fuck is that?
Abe runs towards a balcony door. Exterior grounds. The Crimson Bolt and Bolty approach Thug 2 on the ground. He's missing an arm, gulping for air, blowing a blood bubble.
The bombs totally worked, Frank.
Libby falls upon the man, slicing into him with glee. Range's men come running towards the explosion. The Crimson Bolt turns to see the men. They shoot. The Crimson Bolt is struck in the Kevlar vest and falls. He's heaving. Libby stops, turning back towards him.
Frank, are you...
A bullet strikes Bolty. She falls over and is quiet. The Crimson Bolt rolls to his side. He can't see Bolty. He crawls through the bushes looking for her. He sees her bright yellow and red costume between the leaves. He moves towards where she's lying. He grabs her. But as he pulls her into his arms, Libby's head turns to face him. Part of it is missing. Her one dead eye stares up at nothing. The Crimson Bolt turns white. Meanwhile, Range's men fan out of it. They can't see where the Crimson Bolt went.
Where'd they go? Did you get them?
The Crimson Bolt stands up from the bushes directly in front of him. He doesn't even try to hide, as if his own fury will protect him. He glares at the men and screams at the top of his lungs. They shoot at him, but miss. The Crimson Bolt walks forward. He lights a bomb, and another. He tosses the bombs at the men. They try to run, but the explosions throw them backwards. Freeze frame on the men exploding. Super. Blam! In cartoon letters like in the old Batman show. Exterior balcony. Abe spots the Crimson Bolt tossing bombs. He runs back into the interior ranch foyer.
It's him. Him? Who's him? Darbo!
Exterior grounds. More men run towards the Crimson Bolt from his other side. The Bolt grabs a gun from one of the fallen men. He swings it towards them and takes them down. Freeze frame on the first man, getting shot in the stomach. Super. Splat. Freeze frame on the second man, stumbling back and starting to fall after being shot in the neck. Super. Wham! Freeze frame on the third thug, his head wrenching back as he's shot in the head, blood spurting out. Super. Kapow! And the Crimson Bolt moves towards the ranch, looming in front of him. Interior ranch foyer. Jacques stares at Abe. Mr. Range hurtles down the stairs, half-dressed, holding onto his gun.
Mr. Range, listen, go back upstairs. Everything's fine. We've got it all under control.
Oh, what is it?
It's this guy, he's a fruitcake. He's the Joker running around calling himself the Crimson Bolt.
You're sensing the fucking Crimson Bolt on me? What the fuck's wrong with you? Pack up, boys.
Mr. Range's men start packing up the equipment.
No, listen, you don't get it. He's just this crazy guy. I mean, it's funny, right, Abe? Yeah.
Exterior grounds. The Crimson Bolt walks between the flames and the fallen men writhing on the ground, approaching the ranch house. This is not the bumbling costume man from his early escapades, but a demon straight from hell. Frank has given himself over completely to whatever this ugly calling might be. As he passes the prostrate men, he shoots them each again, making sure they're dead. One thug pleads.
I don't want to die.
The Crimson Bolt blasts him twice. Interior ranch foyer. Mr. Range and his boys move towards the door.
He's just some guy whose wife I boned. You can't do this. I took a lot of fucking time setting this up, Mr. Range, sir. Fucking asshole. You're such a lot.
Mr. Range ignores this whelp while he opens the door for his boys.
Move.
Jacques grabs Abe's gun.
Jacques.
Jacques aims at Range and pulls the trigger, but the gun doesn't fire. He fiddles with it.
Where's the fucking safety?
Jacques finds it. Mr. Range turns toward him. Jacques pulls the trigger again, shooting him. He falls over dead. Jacques then shoots Range's bodyguard, who is holding the briefcase full of money.
Oh, fuck. We had a fucking deal. Nobody can blame me for this. I'm just doing what's fair.
Jacques grabs the briefcase and heads upstairs.
That motherfucker gets up here, Abe. I swear to God, you're fucking fired.
Abe and Mike are left alone. Through one of the windows, they see the scientist types getting into an SUV and taking off. They watch as the SUV screeches down the driveway. Something lands on the SUV's roof, and the SUV explodes. Abe and Mike stare in shock. Exterior grounds. The Crimson Bolt climbs a tree. A Hood's dead body is tied to his back. Interior ranch foyer. Mike and Abe hide behind pieces of furniture and point their guns at the open front door, waiting. Exterior ranch roof. The Crimson Bolt takes a small leap off the tree into the roof of the ranch. Interior ranch foyer. Abe and Mike hear something creaking. It's the roof.
He's up there. Oh, God, this is fucked up. Shut up, Mike.
Exterior ranch roof. The Crimson Bolt ties his bolt rope to a chimney. The other end is tied to the dead body. Interior ranch foyer. Abe and Mike hear more creaking. They're sweating, nervous, waiting. Suddenly, glass shatters beside them as a body comes swinging through. Mike and Abe swirl towards it. They blast at it wildly until they realize it's just a dead body dangling outside the window. Abe sees a note tied around the dead man's neck. He approaches it, grabs it. It's written in blood. Behind you. Abe and Mike wheel around to see the Crimson Bolt, who is swung down to a window frame on the other side of the house. He shoots Mike in the neck. Mike falls over, blood spurting like a fountain. The Crimson Bolt leaps inside. He and Abe move towards each other, shouting and shooting at each other. They hit each other in the arms, but they continue shooting until they both run out of bullets. The Crimson Bolt lunges towards Abe, grabbing him. The two men grapple on the floor. They tear at each other's eyes and faces like animals. The Crimson Bolt gets a hold of Abe's head. He slams it against a heavy piece of furniture until Abe's body falls limp and dead. The Crimson Bolt looks around.
Sarah!
He sees the stairs. He grabs the rail and starts up them. Interior Jacques' upstairs hallway. The Crimson Bolt wanders down the hallway.
Sarah? Sarah!
Jacques appears out of the bedroom holding Sarah. He throws her onto the floor.
Here, man. Here you go. You want her? Here. You win.
The Crimson Bolt looks at Jacques, then at Sarah. Her mouth is swollen, bleeding.
I didn't do that. It was that fat shit downstairs. I I don't care of him, all right? Guess that sort of makes me like your assistant now, huh? All right, just take her.
The Crimson Bolt walks to Sarah. He offers her his hand. She glances up at him and starts weeping.
I'm sorry.
She takes his hand.
You're okay, Pumpkin.
Jacques pulls a gun from the back of his belt and he shoots the Crimson Bolt in the side. The Crimson Bolt falls to the floor. Sarah screams, covering her face, crying.
What do you think you are, some fucking hero?
Jacques shoots him again. The Bolt shouts in pain.
Keep hitting yourself, you stupid son of a bitch. This isn't about good and evil. This is about I had her and you didn't.
Jacques walks directly over to the Crimson Bolt and presses his gun to the Bolt's skull.
This is about she loved me more, you cocksucker. Because I'm fucking interesting.
Shut up, crime.
The Crimson Bolt hits a button on his elbow. A blade flies up from his forearm. He's been wearing the projectile blade device all along and embeds itself between Jacques' legs. Jacques screams and topples backward. The Crimson Bolt pulls a hunting knife from his belt. He grabs Jacques under the chin, pinning him against the wall, and aims the knife at him. Sarah watches, hyperventilating and half covering her eyes. Jacques sobs.
What are you gonna do? Fucking execute me for your sins? Don't think you're fucking better than me, you fucking psycho. You almost killed people for butting in line.
You don't butt in line. You don't sell drugs. You don't have sex with little children. You don't profit from the misery of others. The rules were set a long time ago. They don't change. People don't have any responsibility.
Just take her then. You stabbed me. That isn't going to change the world.
I can't know that for sure. Unless I try.
They pull back as the Crimson Bolt stabs Jacques again and again and again. Fade 2, interior ranch foyer, moments later. The Crimson Bolt comes down the stairwell, carrying Sarah in his arms, falling against the wall for support. Exterior grounds, moments later. The Crimson Bolt walks out of the house, cradling Sarah. The fires are dying out around them. Sarah looks up at the Crimson Bolt. Her eyes are filled with tears.
I knew you'd save me.
Sarah falls back to sleep. The Crimson Bolt sets her into the passenger seat of the remaining SUV. The Crimson Bolt picks up Libby's body. He sets her in the rear of the SUV. He uses a newspaper to wipe blood off her forehead. He leans against the car and weeps. Interior SUV, moments later. The Crimson Bolt, spattered with blood, drives while Sarah sleeps.
So maybe you think there's something wrong with me. Maybe you thought I was going to learn what Jacques said was true. That I was deluded. That I was as evil as the rest of them.
Interior Frank's bedroom, morning. The Crimson Bolt lies Sarah down on the bed. He pulls the covers up around her.
Maybe you're the one that needs to learn something. I know how it looks.
Interior Frank's bathroom later. Frank washes the blood from his face.
Sometimes how it looks and how it is are two different things.
Interior Frank's family room, day. Sarah stitches up Frank.
The truth was in my heart. I followed it. And I saved Sarah.
Black.
She stayed with me a couple months.
Exterior Frank's backyard, day. Frank and Sarah garden a small, crappy garden together.
They were not bad times.
Interior Frank's family room, night. Sarah sits on the couch, holding Frank's head in her lap.
Though they were most likely out of Sarah's sense of obligation.
Interior Frank's kitchen, day. Frank reads a Dear Frank letter from Sarah without tears or histrionics.
But one morning she moved on.
Interior Frank's bedroom, night. Frank looks up at the pages on his wall, reading, Some of God's children are chosen.
Thought it was me at the time. That I was the chosen one.
Flashback. Interior diner kitchen, day. Frank looks through the kitchen window into the diner. Sarah is there in a waitress uniform, wiping off a table.
It was Sarah all along. That's why I needed to save her.
Interior classroom, day. Sarah pays attention in class as her professor puts notes on the board.
She needed to finish school, to study anthropology. Sarah knows something about people.
Interior church basement night. Sarah is a speaker at an AA meeting, shy and humble. The other members look at her, listening intently.
We need her to go back to her meetings, where she had insights that struck others uniquely.
Interior Sarah's bedroom night. Sarah shifts in her sleep, sweating.
Sometimes she needed to have nightmares of those ugly times at Jacques' ranch.
Pan to Sarah's new husband beside her. He tentatively reaches out his hand and places it on her head.
As a kind man, a man who was good and didn't know it, needed to learn how to comfort someone.
Sarah wakes. Her husband strokes her hair. Exterior Sarah's backyard, day. 4 cute kids giggle and hop through a sprinkler. Sarah and her husband splash and play along.
Maybe most of all, Sarah needed to have Patrick and Trevor and Laura and Joy. 4 children who probably wouldn't be at all if Libby and I hadn't gone to Jacques' ranch that night.
Exterior Frank's kitchen, day. Frank finds a postcard from Sarah in his mail. On the postcard are drawings from Sarah's kids, including one of Uncle Frank, and an earth with the words world peace.
Maybe, if all of us are lucky, they're the ones who are going to change the world.
Interior Frank's bedroom, day. Frank sits on the edge of his bed, staring forward.
And me?
The lop-eared bunny walks up on the bed, nuzzling Frank's hip.
Well, I got that rabbit after all.
Frank pets him while still starting forward.
That and something much more.
Reveal the bedroom wall in front of Frank. It is now completely covered with cartoons of perfect moments from Frank's life. The Crimson Bolt carrying Sarah, and she's saying, I knew you'd save me. Frank and Libby laughing as they ride shopping carts at the gun show. Frank purchasing the bunny. Frank and Hamilton watching a movie, and dozens more. Frank stares at the wall. His eyes are wet with tears. He smiles. Fade out. End.
And that is the dark and, in the end, heartwarming tale of Super. Thank you so much for joining us. This wild James Gunn romp. And, we'll see you next time.